What's up everyone, Vu of NVU Films, and I am back with another idiotic video for you to watch. And today, it's obvious what I'm going to be talking about. The official announcement of the Sony a7S III after 6 decades of waiting. I would have uploaded a video earlier, however, that one ended up being very inappropriate, so I had to post it to an unnamed adult site that rhymes with corn stub. So if you want to watch that one, you could go search that and you'll find me on there just spraying all over the place. Had to go to Walmart and buy new drawers, so that is that. But anywho, let's talk about the Sony a7S III. Obviously, my D-bag YouTube trash does not have the Sony a7S III because they wouldn't send it to my trash channel to preview and do all these cool B-rolls and test out all the new features and new menus and all the other stuff that you've probably seen from the 3,000 other YouTubers that posted the camera up. But let's talk about it, okay? And some of you are probably mad at me because currently I'm shooting a Fujifilm X-T4 and I am that ultimate Sony douchebag fanboy trader that switched to X-T4 that still has all of my Sony bodies and lenses for some reason. One, don't drop them. 2, 3. So, yeah, I'm a Sony trader. I have no right to pre-order a Sony a7S III at 10 a.m. sharp like I did today. But anyways, moving on from that, let's just talk about the specs real quick. I'm not going to say all of them, but we all know 4K, 24, 60, 120, 422, 10-bit, all internal with external RAW and 60 frames per second, whatever. 1080 up to 240 frames per second, and the 1080 240 frames per second looks actually very sharp. I would even say it, based on what I've seen, looks even sharper than like the a7 III's 4K. The a7 III's 1080 60. So great job, Sony. Unfortunately, you know, all these amazing specs, low light, great dynamic range, up to 15.1 stops. As Gerald Undone mentioned, 13 stops usable, which is pretty much cinema level. So I can't wait for Netflix to approve the Sony a7S III so that some D-bag filmmaker could produce more crappy work to be posted onto Netflix for all of us to not watch. So there's that. So beyond the specs, you could all go on a B&H, Adorama, or just watch the countless videos to see what the specs are. We all, I'm making this video after I've seen all of it pretty much, and I'm just putting out my thoughts as a Sony user all this time, waiting for the Sony a7S III to come. And to be quite honest, I am like 100% satisfied with the release, the announcement. Like, I don't really care about 6K. I don't really care about the 8K. And if you look at like the 8K footage that Gerald Undone showed of the Canon R5 8K and compared it to the 4K of the Sony, you can't even tell. Like, you can't even tell the difference. And I'm looking at it on like my 32-inch monitor that I edit on. So I couldn't really tell any like noticeable like difference or like sharpness or quality or anything like that. Like, it all just looks great. So there's that. And then there's the overheating. So like all these videos, all the Canon fanboys I see on the Facebook forums are trying to find like all these, like that one guy who got the camera to overheat, Dan Watson. I don't know what kind of test that was. Maybe it was in Florida, humidity or what have you. But like the 20 other dudes who actually used the camera outside holding it 120 frames per second, there's no overheating. 4K 60 lasted for like over an hour in, 90-degree heat, direct sunlight. So it was like, I have absolutely no issues with the a7S III heating. And even if you like for like a wedding filmmaker, when you're actually doing like a very long duration shoot, if you're using the a7S III for that, even like 90-degree heat or whatever, you're doing it in 4K 24, which is a lot less taxing on the body, which you should not have any issues with the camera heating up on you on like a 1-hour Catholic ceremony or something. And most outdoor ceremonies that I've worked on are like half hour or less. So you will never have any issues shooting a ceremony with the camera on a tripod ever. You should not. So there's no concerns there for like professional use, which is great. So now my main concern that I mentioned in a previous video was the fact that I cannot really use it for like hybrid use. And after some of my viewers have pointed out, and after doing some research, I can use it for photo camera, especially if I'm just capturing my family, because all my family photos are either like printed out into like a small print like this, if I even do that, or up to like a 40-inch canvas, which I've done before. 12 megapixels is more than enough for that. You know, other than that, we're like posting on Instagram or Facebook, and like 12 megapixels is like more than enough for that. And even as like a wedding photographer, let's say you're kind of doing both. If you ask your client, like, what do they want out of their photos, right? And if they just want like to blow up a canvas that they could hang on their wall, that's like I said, like about like this big, 12 megapixels is enough. If they're going to just do photo albums with it, 12 megapixels is like more than enough for like a photo book. You know what I mean? So like if you ask them like what do they want, they just want like digital pictures that they could put on the photo albums, or you do the photo album for them, or like they just want to do like a canvas on their wall. 12 megapixels is enough. Like you don't need more than that. So in that case, the Sony a7S III is actually perfectly fine. Now, are you gonna be able to like take professional food photos for like commercial? Probably not. That's why I have like something like an A7R III for. So if I do like purge a camera or so, I'm probably gonna just sell one of my A7 IIIs and just keep the Sony A7R III for like those really like detailed professional shoots that I may or may not need for photography. But other than that, like, gosh, did Sony go beyond expectations? I don't know. Like, wasn't even really sure what I was expecting. If I were to tell you that my expectations for a Sony a7S III was just 4K 60 10-bit 422 internal, they did. They definitely did exceed expectations. And based on like even like IBIS was not technically improved, but they do have like more options for like the steady shot. So it crops in like slightly, I think by 1.13 times. But if you look at the footage, it's actually quite steady and usable, especially if you even implement in like, if you had to, warp stabilizer, or if you're doing like 4K 60 or something like that, the slow motion plus like the active stabilization is going to be perfectly enough for you to do, like if you're like, let's say you're doing a follow shot or some panning shots or like, something like that. That IBIS, that stability system, is more than enough for you to use without a gimbal, which is awesome. So I mean, gosh, like it's hard for me to nitpick the camera. There's some dudes out there on the forums talking about how $34.98 is too expensive. Are you serious? Like, what is that camera packing? Like, what do you want the camera to be, like $1,500 or $2,000? Like, hell no. You know, like if you're at the point where a camera is that stacked in specs, and by all counts from pre-production units that other YouTube douches have been reviewing, and they've been using it for like 3-4 hours at a time, not overheating, and most of them were just saying like this is like outright, you know, just works as a super reliable camera. What is there to complain about? Like $3,500. If you can't afford a $3,500 camera, you shouldn't buy one. And the reason why you can't is because you're probably not at that level, the professional level. You're not getting paid enough, and you just, like you just need to up your game, up your production. Maybe, you know, go beyond just. You just gotta you just gotta do the level of work to justify you paying $3,500 for a camera that is fully worth the $3,500. Okay. Some would argue that, the ESR is only like $3,000 more. It shoots 8K. Okay, yeah, great, but it could shoot 8K for like 3 minutes. So there's that. And you can't really like do the dual card slot thing. So because there's like 2 different cards, which was Sony really just nailed it, because you could do redundancy on the SD cards and like the new CFast mini whatever card. You have all those options for you where you could have like backup. And even when you shoot like external RAW, you could still back it up for 2 extra cards. So you could actually record it on the external recorder and the 2 cards. It's completely professional workflow that you have here with the Sony a7S III. Reliable workflow. Anyone who's saying like, color science, you're stupid. That's one. If you talk about color science, you're stupid. Okay. It's overheating. No, it does not. It does not overheat. One guy got it to overheat. I don't know what his things are, but like one guy out of like 50 YouTubers got it to overheat within like 23 minutes. There is that. And, you know, apparently the Fuji X-T4 is like the worst overheating camera ever. I've never had it overheat on me ever. doing these like videos here. Like I'm shooting on the XT4 right now. I think people, man, you just always got to find stuff to just complain about, or just the fanboys from the other companies always got to find something to nitpick about Sony. Just like I would nitpick something about Canon, but honestly, like the one thing I joan on Canon for is it's overheating, and you cannot deny at this point. Like Gerald Undone and like I think it was Chelsea Northrup took 30 to 40 photos with the Canon ESR6 or ESR5 or both. I don't know. After they took the 30 or 40 photos, they tried to do video mode. It wouldn't even record. Like it overheated. It gave you 0 minutes. So you can't even like hybrid shoot in the ESR5 or R6 because once you shoot like 20 photos, you can't even do video afterwards. So what's the point of that? So it's really not, you can only do either or. And if you do video, you can't even do it for that long, especially for like the specs that you're paying the money for. You're paying $3,000 to do 8K, 4K 60, 4K 120, all those 4K raw, or not even 4K raw, like 8K raw, and you can only do it for 5 minutes. So you're paying $3,000 for those video specs that you could barely reliably use it for on a professional shoot. And you can't really hybrid shoot it because you shoot photos with it, and then when you switch over to video mode, it won't even shoot because of heat. So get that out of the way. I think Sony completely knocked it out of the park. If you are a Sony user and you do video, and if you could afford it, there is absolutely no reason why you should not have pre-ordered that Sony a7S III at 10 a.m. like I did. Like, there's no reason for you to wait. You should not even have thought about it. If you were like, let's say a Fuji X-T4 user, primarily, not like me who use both systems, that's up to you. Like if I were to tell you what I think, and this is based off of Sony's track record for the past 3 years, every camera that they have made since the A7R III and forward have just been fantastic. Like for what they are and what Sony advertised them to be, like they have been just incredible, like just straight home runs. Okay. With that in mind, the a7S III, even before I even touched it, just knowing their track record and my familiarity with the cameras for the past 4 years doing professional shoots, over 30 or more weddings a year, traveling to Spain, traveling to Colorado, shooting commercial shoots, wedding shoots, like there is no reason why I should doubt that Sony a7S III is a fantastic camera. So with that being said, like if you are invested in Fuji or something, you stay with it. You might want to consider switching if you're from Nikon. If you are a Canon shooter, I just feel sorry for you, to be quite honest. Like because I don't think you should like buy like a Sony a7S III because you're like already like invested in the system. And the ESR5 is honestly, the ESR6 doesn't really hold a candle to the a7S III. The ESR5 on paper has better resolution than the a7S III, but it's not really usable. You know what I mean? Like it's usable, but there's all these workarounds. There's all these cripples with using it and getting it to work, where like Sony just did this amazing thing with, they enable you to use all these different bit rates and codecs, all the way from like 100 megabits per second to 280 megabits per second to 600 megabits per second to RAW. Like there's so many options for you where you could just continue to use SD cards and still get like really amazing high-end quality, where even if you shot like at 1,000 megabits per second, which the camera is also capable of, like you probably won't even notice a difference in terms of like quality. You're talking about nitpicking at that point. So yeah, like I think for running gun shooting, for content creation, like there's no better camera than the a7S III because it works. Like autofocus, S1H doesn't have that. Full frame 4K 60, S1H doesn't have that. Good stability, like is it as good as S1H and stuff? No, but is it good enough? Yes. So like you cannot, okay, maybe there's a Sony fanboy in me speaking, but if you're Panasonic and you like Panasonic user and you like manual focusing, more power to you. You should be able to get you should be able to create amazing content with any of these cameras. S1H, R5, R6, A7S III, Fuji X-T4. You can create everything you want. You know, you could do whatever creative. It's up to you as a creator, right? At the end of the day, your equipment can open all these doors for you in terms of creativity, usability, quality. You can't deny like the amazing upgrade that say A7S III would offer you. You know what I mean? Like, I am just so excited. Like, I just cannot wait for September 24th when they finally ship out the camera. I mean, hopefully I get it soon so I could do a test. A previous video I had mentioned that if I was thinking about keeping the Fuji X-T4, honestly, after really considering it and after talking to some of the commenters, like, there's no reason for me to keep it. So I'm going to use it, and I will be shooting some weddings on it because obviously I don't have an A7S III now, and I do want 4K 60. So I'll be shooting weddings all through August and all through most of September with it if these dates stick and there are no COVID delays and stuff like that. And once my Sony a7S III comes, I'm going to do like a full comparison of the video quality with the Fuji X-T4, image stabilization, dynamic range, color grading, hopefully all that stuff before I eventually sell the X-T4. There's no real reason for me to keep the X-T4 after the a7S III has arrived because just based on like every camera I have from Sony, R3, A7 III, ZV-1, Alpha 6400, Alpha 6600, they've all been like fantastic cameras. I had no complaints with them. They're completely what I expected when I got them and used them, and I have no doubts the A7S III will be like exactly what I expected it to be, based off just watching reviews. So with that said, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Like, tell me what you think about the A7S III in the comments below. Tell me, you know, if you don't plan on, for some stupid reason, you don't plan on buying it or pre-ordering it until I, for some reason, review it. Tell me what you would like to see more of in terms of like tests before you like make a decision on it. I'm not going to rent or buy an ESR 5 or 6 to like compare. Like there's other YouTube channels for that. I'm not gonna do all that. But you tell me what you might want to know or what you don't like about the A7S III. Just comment below. Let me know what you like. Please like, share, and subscribe as it will help my channel greatly. And maybe one day, when I have more than like 3 subscribers, Sony will send me an A7S III or A7 IV early to try out early and be one of those posters that post at 10 a.m. sharp and get all these views and stuff. So thanks, guys, for all the support. Till next time, lighten up. Actually, matter of fact, Sony a7S III, you could actually darken up and shoot at like 100,000 ISO and still have a nice image.